individual and they may ask the questions accordingly. Science diplomacy was always a part of our foreign policy. Now, India's Ministry of External Affairs has given a special status to science, technology, and innovation diplomacy by setting up the new and emerging strategic technologies NEST division. So, we would like to listen to Ambassador Akhilesh Mishra how science diplomacy is playing an important role in our diplomatic relationship. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vasiji, for your kind invitation to join this program, and also Jyotiji for hosting and coordinating this interaction. First of all, my very warm greetings to Ambassador Bhaskar Balakrishnan-ji, whom I have admired for many years. In our foreign service, in our ministry, he has been the pioneer of economic diplomacy and also science diplomacy. So I'm very humbled to be with him on this panel. And also the illustrious panelists that we have today. I'm very, very conscious of my ignorance, and I'm not an expert, and I'm not the head of the NEST division. My colleague Renupal heads it. So my intention would be to give some general remarks about how I see as an individual and how we can work together. First of all, I must compliment DST for hosting this event, India International Science Festival, even during the COVID pandemic, and also focusing on science diplomacy. The theme of science and technology has become an extremely important focus area for diplomacy because today, not only the traditionally sensitive technologies like nuclear, missile, space, and dual use knowledge, but also non-military science and technology have acquired a profound security and strategic dimension. The status of healthcare, the supply of nutrition and food and energy, the essential industrial inputs, and the reliability of digital connectivity, these are all very much part of the national interest matrix. And overall national power and profile, even the soft power of the country, is determined by the strength and reliance and reliability of the critical science and technology capabilities. Science is no longer the concern of scientists alone. It affects everyone, everything, how we study, how we communicate, how we play cricket, or how we showcase our dances and music. Everything is interconnected with science now. And science is the field of science has too many players, including diplomats. The interplay between science and diplomacy manifests in many ways. Like diplomacy for science, it is somewhat like economic diplomacy and a subset of economic diplomacy, use of diplomacy to promote export of our science and technical know-how and technologies, and import of critical technologies and knowledge. Science for diplomacy is again a very interesting area, which is to me another track of diplomacy, somewhat similar to cultural diplomacy or sports diplomacy, where science is used to open new doors. In the Hindi, there is a saying, "Jahan na pahunche Ravi, tahan pahunche Kavi." So where we ordinary diplomats have difficulty in reaching out and engaging people, even if there are political difficulties, there also science allows us to open up connectivities. The third dimension of science in diplomacy, and so that is a use of scientific inputs in very critical areas like nuclear and missile technology, control regimes, ocean, and the larger issues concerning our humanity. Cyberspace and maritime, even intellectual property regimes have become too technically determined. Another dimension is science and technology as the means or platform or instrument of conduct of diplomacy. The power of social media, the practice of virtual summits, the video conferences, and how we are communicating among the headquarters and embassies. So science has changed our life completely. The main driver of science diplomacy is three themes, I think. First is the ever-growing salience of science and technology in life of an individual or a contemporary society or countries. Secondly, the belated consciousness of the essential unity and interconnectedness and indivisibility of laws of forces of nature. Thirdly, a realization that those larger issues cannot be addressed within the segmented domains of national boundaries. So there has to be a dialogue and the necessity of working together with other countries. And in this context, I'm very, very fascinated that while the science diplomacy term is very, very new, but for we Indians, the notion of science as a connector and also the laws of the quest for understanding nature and how they connect the entire universe in a web, that is very, very ancient. In fact, the Vedic rishis told us repeatedly about a single cosmic web connecting not only the human beings, but animals, plants, birds. In fact, all animate and inanimate bodies of this physical existence are interconnected. Therefore, you cannot treat them in segments. In Atharva Veda, there is a very beautiful mantra, Parivishwa Bhuvanani Ayam Ritasya Tantum Vitatam Drishekam. It means I have gone around all universes and I have found a web, a web connecting everything. Sadyatra Vishwam Bhavatyeka Needam. The entire universe is like one single nest. And therefore, and also the connectivity of knowledge. Unlike the Western world, in Indian science, the scientific understanding and understanding of nature, you always had indivisibility of knowledge. The knowledge is not segmented as something physics or chemistry or geology, but it's integrated. The knowledge of nature and knowledge of your own body, knowledge of spirituality, yoga and Ayurveda, these all interconnected. Astrology and astronomy and philosophy and spirituality, every kind of knowledge is one essentially. And also the understanding of not only the external world, but also internal world. Yavan vai ayam akashah, tavan esh hridaye akashah. Ashmin antah eva ubhe dyava prithvi. In the what is this grand, magnificent sky? That is also the sky within me. The entire earth and the space is also in my heart. To you in India, the scientists had perfected the vision, not only limited to what our senses can grasp, but gaining extra knowledge by turning our senses inwards and getting a profound wisdom, understanding. And that interconnectedness is very profound because you cannot disturb any single particle in the web without disturbing the rest of the web. And therefore, the sages in India prayed always not for peace and harmony in oneself or one family, but also in the entire cosmos. Om Dyohu Shanti, Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Rapah Shanti, Roshadaya Shanti. And also in the same spirit, they always spoke about the spirit of friendship and harmony for all, collaborating and consultating everyone in the pursuit of knowledge and also sharing of knowledge. Sangachadvam, samvadadvam, samvai manansi janatam. That has been the essence of Indian knowledge tradition. And that is the mantra which Prime Minister Modi has incorporated into our foreign policy motto. And it is not a surprise that as soon as India became independent, India, despite its own mammoth developmental challenges, India focused on sharing its limited resources and knowledge, particularly and experience and technological know-how with other countries. As Ambassador Balakrishnan would know, that the development partnership of India started even before India became independent. And in an institutionalized manner, the Indian Technical Economic and Economic Cooperation Program was established in 1964. We have always adopted that approach that whatever constraints India might have, our experience, our developmental experience is of relevance to many other similarly developing countries, and our friends should not be uh, having to reinvent the same wheel. If they can benefit from our experience, we are always welcoming to. We are always ready to share our experience. And in DPA, Development Partnership Administration of India, we are handling about $31 billion worth of lines of credits, about $5 billion of grant funded projects. And the most important thing is about 14,000 fully funded scholarships for precisely the kind of science diplomacy that you are envisioning. We are offering 14,000 fully funded scholarships for for representatives from friendly countries to come and gain knowledge and experience the technical know-how and relevant technologies of their priority interest. And and also the capacity building and human resource development has also been very high priority in our LOC funded projects, grant funded projects. We have established more than 50 centers of excellence in ICT. We have established Pan-African e-network earlier, and then it's being revamped, e-Vidya Bharati and e-Arogya Bharati, to provide tele-education and telemedicine connectivity between India and Africa. We have set up Myanmar Institute of Information Technology, and also similar very many training and capacity building focus institutions. At the international level, our Prime Minister has taken two very significant initiatives, the International Solar Alliance and a Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure. The both, I think, will emerge in due course as a very important forum for sharing of science and technological know-how and experience. And friends, let me conclude by mentioning 4 points which I think will help our colleagues in science and technology ministry to help to work together. First is that there is need for much greater synergy and coordination between DPA and science and technology ministry. The outcome of science and technology collaboration and joint research programs, which DST already has, if they could be shared with us, and we can identify some of the ideas which can be converted into development projects, either through grant or through LOCs or through capacity building programs of ITech. So that the work DST has all done, building bridges and developing new products and scientific innovation research, so that can be developed into development partnership projects. Secondly, DPA would be very happy to support DST and work together with DST to promote your own agenda through our ITech programs or LOCs or grants. Thirdly, DPA would very much like to incorporate innovative technological solutions in the matrix of our development cooperation. The basket needs to grow and it has to be more modern, more relevant. Incorporating affordable, cost-effective, innovative development solutions that have been particularly acquired in the past 6 years during Prime Minister Modi. Lastly, traditionally, we have been engaging in G2G cooperation, but we are now also open to broadening the contact with the other countries, including CSOs, NGOs, and sub-regional organizations. So if DST can help us do kind of mapping of what interesting work is being done in India, we will be very happy to see how they can be leveraged in our broader development partnership with other countries. Because what is happening in India has a lot of relevance for many friendly countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for highlighting and sharing that science, technology, and innovation is involved in every aspect of life, not in the modern life, but in it is since ancient time. And you have also highlighted the synergy of science and diplomacy and how science is playing an important role in our foreign policy to make our make our international cooperation